Welcome to Navexa. I'm Navarre. This masterclass will show you everything from getting set up to running tax reports and more. We've timestamped this video so you can skip to any section at any time. Okay, let's kick off by showing you how to completely set up your Navexa account. So first things first is adding data to your account. Now most people do this by importing the file directly from their broker. If you see up the top next to the Add Holding screen, we have an arrow. If you select that arrow, you'll see Import from Broker. Select that link and you'll be presented with a list of all the brokers we support. Now these are mostly Australian brokers. We have some crypto in there and some US brokers as well. So if we're importing from CommSec, we'd select CommSec. And here we follow the instructions on how to get all of your historical trades out of CommSec with a CSV file. So you simply go to the Portfolio tab, the Accounts tab, follow the steps and download the file with all your trades. Once you have that file, simply upload it here into Navexa, click Upload File, and then wait a couple of minutes. Now this process is usually pretty quick. Behind the scenes we're adding all of your stocks, we're importing dividends, setting up corporate actions like consolidations and splits. And at the end of it, you come back to the portfolio page with all of your stocks imported. The next way to add data to your portfolio is through our Portfolio File Uploader. You'll find that under the menu here, Import Portfolio File. Selecting that will present you with whether you want to import stocks, cryptos, and very soon you'll be able to bulk import unlisted investments. We're going to choose stocks. And this page gives you a little bit of information about what kind of data you're going to need in order to import it successfully. Once you've done that, we click Launch Importer, which will open the bulk importer. Uploading data from file, we simply select the file that we want to import and then follow the steps. It'll ask you things like, does the first row contain headers? Yes, it does. Then the next screen is simply mapping which columns map to the Navexa columns. So this one's automatically picked it up. Instrument code and symbol will confirm that one. Exchange is correct. Trade type, that is correct. Trade date's correct. Unit price is the share price. Quantity and brokerage. Once all those columns are confirmed, we click Review. Now, depending on how much data you have, this might take a little bit of time, but we've only got a couple of records here. And you can see here that it's flagged that the date format is incorrect. It's asking for it to be year, month, day instead of what it currently is. So we can make edits live in the system here. Without having to re-edit our file. So we'll make those 2018, 23, and you can see they're now no longer red. Click Continue. Yes, we're ready to submit. And this should only take less than a minute. Success, we're in. So coming back here, come back to your portfolio and you'll see that the data for REA is now added to your portfolio. Easy as that. The next way to add data to your account is manually, one trade at a time. So you can get there by clicking the Add Holding button, which will ask you if you're adding a stock, a cryptocurrency, a new cash account, or an unlisted investment. We're going to click Stock, and we'll be presented with this screen. So it asks for a couple of basic details. So what's the stock symbol? So we'll put in CommBank. It was a buy trade. We bought some today. We bought 50 shares, and I'm going to select the current price of the day, 105.77. Let's say our brokerage cost $9, and we can put a note, thought this looked good, and then hit Add Stock. Now behind the scenes, this is adding the stock to your account. It's finding all the dividends that you might have earned in that time, and it's doing any splits and consolidations that we know about for that particular stock. You'll be then presented with this screen, which allows you to view the holding, or you can add another one or go back to the portfolio. Another feature I wanted to talk about was Navexa Link. This feature allows you to keep your account in sync with all of your future trades by setting up email forwarding of your trade confirmations directly to Navexa. You'll get given a custom link, custom email address that maps to your particular portfolio, and when an email from your broker comes to that, we will read the details and automatically add them to your account. In order to find out more about this, simply click the arrow next to Add Holding and go to Link Contract Notes. You can find out more here on how to do it. The instructions are basically, on the portfolio you'd like to do it, click Settings, which will take you to this page. Down the bottom you'll see there's a Navexa link email address which is unique to the particular portfolio that you've selected. You can set this up for multiple portfolios if you have a portfolio per broker, for instance, or if your partner is also part of your Navexa account and they want to send their contract notes to their portfolio. This is a great way to do it. All you need to do is copy this email address by clicking the button and then forwarding your contract notes from your broker to that address. Simple as that. Now, we only support particular brokers, which you can find out back on the screen. If you go to the help page, you'll see that we support about 15 or so brokers from Australia. So all the big ones are in there. CommSec, we have NAB Trade, Self Wealth, Superhero, and if we don't have your broker, we'd love to add support for it, so get in touch with us. Now, of course, at any time, if you have any issues adding data to your account, we want to help you get it sorted. So please get in contact with us at info@navexa.io, or you'll see at the bottom of every page in your account, there's a feedback box here, which you can simply put some comments in on what's going on and send it through to us. We'll be in contact pretty quickly. Let's have a look at the portfolio screen. Now, the portfolio screen is one of, if not the most important screen in Navexa. Its purpose is to give you the high-level overview of your performance at a portfolio level, but also break that down at a holding level as well, so you can see how everything is performing. Now, one concept that is important to understand when using Navexa is we display to you your true performance. Now, what we mean by that is our performance calculations factor in things like capital gain, dividend return, currency gain, and trading fees. And on top of that, we annualize all the returns to factor time into the equation. So often people will add their data, they'll come to the screen and they'll go, hang on, these performance figures are different than what I see in my brokerage account. Now, that is on purpose because your brokerage account often won't factor in dividends, won't factor in currency gain, doesn't show you trading fees, and it definitely won't annualize your returns. So you're missing out on a whole piece of the puzzle that makes up your overall return. So at the top of the page we have these 5 main sections. Now, this first section is portfolio value. So that's the overall value of your portfolio at the given time. This shows you the overall performance of 2.76%. Here we have capital gain. This is just breaking down your capital gain numbers so you can see the capital gains that you have made or lost, and the return 2.6% for that. Then over here we have dividend return. So this shows you how many dividends you've earned for the selected time period and what that effect has on the return of your portfolio. And then this one, currency gain, this one is very important for when you're investing in foreign shares. So if you're an Australian-based company and you've bought some Tesla or Apple or some other US stock, the exchange rate between the Australian dollar and the US dollar actually has an effect on your portfolio performance. And that's yet another metric that you wouldn't see most of the time in your trading account. And then the last one we have here, total return. So this factors in the previous 3, adds them all up and shows you your overall return of 2.76%, and that is annualized as well. Now, this up here is the date selector. So you see we've currently got it set for last 30 days. So this filters the entire portfolio page for last 30 days. So all of these returns are what this particular portfolio has changed in 30 days. If we change that to all time, for example, you'll see that now our capital gain is 6,800. We've made 6,865 in dividends, and our total return is now 13,000. So that factors in every trade we've ever done right up until today. Up here we have a settings icon. If you click that, it gives you a few options of things you can do. Portfolio view allows you to toggle the portfolio screen between our three views. We've got standard, the one we're looking at now, a trading view which shows you some trading related metrics like profit loss, average profit size, win-loss ratio, that kind of thing. And compact is just a cut down version of the portfolio page for those who don't need the extra information. We have a couple of calculation settings as well, and these are quite important. So include closed positions, which is on by default. This means that all of your historical trades, whether you've sold out the stock completely or not, are factored into your overall performance calculation. Now we recommend you leave this on by default because your previous investing should be factored into your overall investing today. But some people like to exclude those things and not have them factor in. And if you toggle this to no, Navexa will calculate your performance as if those closed holdings didn't exist at all. It will only look at things that are still currently open. The next option is annualized returns. So like we mentioned before, all of our returns that you see all across the website are annualized. Some people want to turn that off and see the unannualized returns, and that's what you can do here. Again, we recommend, and I stress, you should leave this on because not factoring time into your performance is a big piece of the pie that you need to be considering. It's much better to make an 100% gain in 1 year than it is to make an 100% gain over 10 years. And that's what annualization helps you find in your portfolio. Scrolling down a bit, we've got this chart here, and there's two other charts as well. So portfolio return percentage. This chart is currently this portfolio, which you see in green, benchmarked against an ASX top 50 fund, which is in blue. So you can see how this portfolio compares against buying this particular ETF. If we looked at this chart today, you could see for this whole time, I might have been better off investing in this particular ETF. I would have been up higher than I am today. Those are the things that benchmarking allows you to consider. Down here you can edit the benchmark. Clicking on that allows you to choose between some common benchmarks we have, ASX 200, the S&P 500, NASDAQ 100, that kind of thing. Or you can benchmark against any stock or ETF that you like. We also allow you to benchmark against another portfolio that you have as well. Changing to the other chart, portfolio return dollars. So this shows you your portfolio return over time in dollar values. And this chart, portfolio value, how the value of your portfolio has changed over time. Now you can zoom in on any of these with your mouse wheel. You can scroll, you can move them left and right. If you click and drag on the scales, you can adjust them to see the ranges you'd like to see. So there's plenty of flexibility there. On the right hand side, we've got a small donut chart breaking down some diversification. So what this chart is doing is showing you your top 3 biggest sectors, and then everything else is grouped as other. This is just to give you kind of a quick high level overview of what your top 3 biggest sectors are. Scrolling down a bit, we're now at the holdings list. So this list breaks down every holding in the portfolio and shows you those things like capital gain, dividend return, total return, so you can see at a high level what's going on. Up the top we have a group by drop down, which lets you group your holdings by particular things: exchange, sector, industry, currency, and we also have custom groupings where you can make your own. We've got some limits here, so you can, if you have a lot of stocks and you want to see them all, you can set it to 100 or 10 if you want to see pages of stocks. This one is the column chooser. If we click this, you'll see that you can turn on some other columns like dividend return, currency gain, or whether DRP is turned on, and they will display here in the columns. And over here is the export to Excel. So that will export this whole grid into a Excel file for you to then do your own calculations with if you wish. So you'll see here we've got a particular stock, REA. You can see its current market price, current quantity that we own, the value of it, its capital gain, the capital gain percentage, total return, and so on. This number over here also indicates that you have 3 unconfirmed dividends for that particular stock. But we'll come back to that in a minute, what that means. Scrolling down below the holdings list, we've got a couple of other charts here. We've got a portfolio diversification chart, which is broken down by sector. Gives you a bit of an overview of the sectors that your portfolio is in and how big each one is. And then over here on the right, dividend performance. So all of your historical dividend payments per year that you have received. Next, let's click on a holding and drill down into it. If we click on the symbol here, it'll take us into the holding page. Now this page is quite similar to portfolio page, except we're now viewing it at an individual holding level. You can see we have the same 5 sections here, so you can see the capital gain, dividend return, and currency gain of this particular stock, and get a good sense of how it's performing. In this case, REA having a 43% annualized capital gain, going pretty good. Across the top we've got some market price information with the current open, high, low, previous close and volume. We've also got an add trade button up here, which is pretty self-explanatory. Click that to add a trade. We've got a few other actions up here as well. So in the event they rename to a different symbol, you can use the rename symbol function. You can also transfer this holding from this portfolio to another one that you own, or you can delete this holding entirely. Looking a bit further down here, we've got some key statistics. So we can see the overall holding value, the overall quantity that we have so far, things like the cost base and the cost base per share, its current dividend yield. This one, Navexa owners, shows how many other users of Navexa have REA added to their portfolio. So we can see 73 other people. On the right, we've got 3 charts. We've got the holding value chart, which lets you see the holding value over time. We've got the dividend return chart, which shows you the amount of dividends you have received from REA over the last 3 years. And a share price chart as well, which, like all of our other charts, you can zoom in and kind of analyze different periods of time. Below that, we have the trades adjustments table. This is where you add in all the individual trades or adjustments like splits or consolidations that happen to your particular holding. In this one you can see there was 2 buy trades and a sell trade. And you can see the price, quantity, brokerage value for all of those. Underneath that is the dividends table. This is where all the dividends are automatically recorded based off the trades that you have done. So based off the 2 buy trades we've done on these particular dates, these are all the dividends that you've received for REA. So you can see the franking credits, the total amount, and that kind of thing here. You can also edit a dividend, and over here is asking to confirm 3 dividends. So when a dividend is automatically added to your account, we ask you to double check the numbers and confirm it. Once it's confirmed, it means our system will no longer update the dividend if something else changes. But if you leave it unconfirmed and then say add in a historical trade, that allows Navexa to recalculate those dividends because you've indicated, no, I haven't actually received that. Up here we've got a few other tabs. So we've got the profile tab, which has some sector and industry group and industry information. You can edit these as well to change it if you would like to make it something different. We have the news tab, which breaks down some latest news all about your particular holding, in this case REA News. The notes tab allows you to record any notes you would like against the holding. So you might want to add in here why you bought it, why you sold it, why you thought it was a good investment, that kind of thing. And in the settings, we've got a few things here. So trust income, this affects the tax report of whether this stock came from a trust or not. This is usually something Australian ETFs would be classed as. We also have auto dividend reinvestment. So for any stock where we have the DRP information, you can turn this on, and we provide you 4 different settings for DRP. So round down, round up, round to the nearest dollar, or round down with balance tracking. Now the last option with balance tracking is quite common in that when you earn shares through DRP and there's money left over, Navexa will automatically carry that balance over to the next dividend payment to factor that in. And down the bottom you can also edit the sector or industry and save it there. Let's take a look at the Manage Portfolio screen, which you can get to by clicking this link over here. This screen allows you to add additional portfolios if you're on a plan that allows more than one, and set up things like portfolio groups. So to add an additional portfolio, simply click Add Portfolio. It will ask you things like the portfolio name, so we can call it example, the tax residency, the tax entity type, and the calculation settings you'd like on that portfolio. We click Save, and you can see now we have 2 portfolios. Up here, it allows you to toggle between the 2 when you're on a particular page, like the portfolio page. Now, portfolio groups allow you to group those 2 together to view them as if they were one. So we can go into portfolio group and call it all portfolios. We want to put both of these portfolios in the group, and you can change again the calculation settings. So now we've got a group called all portfolios, which you can see is now in the list here. So this allows you on the portfolio page to either view them individually or view them together. Next, we're going to look at the Growth and Goals page. This can be accessed via the link here on the left, Growth and Goals. So Navexa is more than a portfolio tracker. It's a place to measure your progress and performance relative to your personal financial goals. Growth and Goals is a tool that lets you anchor your performance metrics to a personal target. So the first time you come to this page, you'll be presented with the Add or Edit Goals screen. So you can see here I've made a goal called Financial Independence. I've set a target portfolio value of $300,000. It started at the 1st of the 1st, 2021, and I'm trying to make it happen by the 1st of September 2031. So looking back on this page, we can now see from the goal start date to the goal end date how we're performing towards that goal. So you can see on the graph here we've got this blue line. Now that blue line is our goal all the way through to September 30, 2031. And you can see on the graph here we're just above that line. So we're on track to meet our goal, which is fantastic. You can see up here today indicates where you'd need to be today to be on target. And we're also roughly at that point, which you can see in the chart. So we're $19,000 or 9% towards our goal of $300,000. Now this number here doesn't say $300,000 because this is factored in our starting portfolio value, which would have been around $88,000. So it is calculated that in order to hit a $300,000 value, we need to grow the portfolio by $212,000. What we can do is also zoom in a little bit to have a look if we're on track at a closer range. So I've changed the end date to be 2023, just so we can zoom in on that chart and see how we're going at a kind of shorter time frame. So you can see we're above the blue line, which is where we want to be. This chart down the bottom shows our portfolio growth that was contributed to by capital gains. So $10,700 was from capital gain towards our $19,000 so far. And growth from new capital, $8,400. Now new capital is when you buy new stocks or put money into your cash account. It's just new cash injected into the portfolio, and that has affected the portfolio value. So this kind of tool just really gives you a good sense of whether you're on target, you're ahead of target, behind it, and it might help you make some decisions like whether you need to put more cash in on a monthly basis, do some more investing on a more regular time frame, that kind of thing. We're planning on expanding this page a lot to have dividend goals, multiple financial goals, so stay tuned and keep checking this page out. Next up is the reports page, which can be accessed via the reports link on the left. Navexa gives you 10 powerful reporting tools that range from portfolio analytics and dividend tracking through to tax reporting and forecasting. So let's walk through each and see what they do. First up is the Portfolio Performance Report. This report is an expanded version of what you see on the portfolio page. You can filter by date range, we have export buttons, and we have the four key metrics benchmarked against the chosen benchmark that you set on the portfolio page. You can also view the chart down here, and you can navigate to holdings the same way you do in the portfolio page. This basically is a report that just lets us look at a more granular level what our performance is. So we can do things by looking at, say, last financial year. Click the filter button, you'll see all the numbers update to show you that historical performance. We can see our portfolio performance called Main, how it's benchmarked against the SFY ETF. You can see we performed less on capital gain, performed less on dividend return, and this kind of gives you the ability to determine how you're performing. Further down here you can see all the usual values like capital gain, total return, and things broken down by crypto, ASX, that kind of thing. Next we're going to look at the All Trades report. Now this report is a handy list of all the trades in your portfolio for a given period of time. We've got the date range selector up here, export to Excel buttons. We can see the holding name, the trade type, the trade date, quantity, price, brokerage, value. And we can see that broken down for all the various trades that we've done in our account. Likewise, we can change this to all time, click filter, and now you can see every trade ever done inside your account. Let's take a look at the Portfolio Contributions report. If you own 50 stocks and I ask you which is the top performer and which is the worst performer in the past 12 months, would you know? With the Portfolio Contributions report, you can see this information at a glance for the date range that you choose. You can see it both visually on the chart and in the holding list below. You can click the column headers to see to sort by performance, and up here you can see in the chart which stocks or which holdings are pulling you forward and which ones are pulling you backwards. You can also change the date range here to any date range you like, and you can also group by things like industry. So update those, click filter, and the chart and list will update. You can also export this to Excel to do your own calculations. And under here is a breakdown of everything you can see in the chart. Next up is the Portfolio Diversification report. Just like the Portfolio Contributions gives you an instant representation of the relative performance of your investments, the Diversification report does the same for the industries and sectors which are invested. Up the top we've got a date range selector, so you can filter down to a particular date range you'd like to see. The chart here breaks down all the different sectors that you're invested in and what the size of each one is. So you can see we have 34% classed as unknown. These can then be updated if they're ones that are missing. You can see interactive media and services is another big chunk, banks, hotels, that kind of thing. Underneath we have the same information broken down, but you can see it at a stock level as well. So you can see within the industry banks, we've got 4 banks that you can see their different percentage weighting and the value that they're bringing to the table. Likewise, you can see it broken down for your cryptos and all the different sectors under here as well. Now let's look at the All Paid Dividends report. If you're trying to optimize your portfolio for income and you want to see the trends in the dividends you've been paid, the All Paid Dividends reports will show you. Again, like our other reports, select the date range at the top left and you can export these things on the right. The chart shows you your monthly earnings for the date range that you choose. Hover over any bar with your mouse and you can see the exact amount of dividends that you received. Below this you have a table of all the various dividends that you've received, including which holding they've come from, the ex-dividend date, the date they were paid, and things like franked, unfranked, franking credits, that kind of thing. Setting for the particular date range, we can select it to all time, for example, and see all the dividends that were paid over the life of this particular portfolio. Up the top you can then export them to Excel if you wish to do some further analysis. Next, let's look at the upcoming dividends report. So as you move through the financial year, information on future dividends from the companies you're invested in becomes available. So in the upcoming dividends report, you can see both a graphic representation of future income coming your way, and you can also see a table below with the totals from the particular companies themselves. As with all of our reports, we have the date range selector up the top for filtering and the Excel export button on the right for doing further analysis in Excel. So you can see down here we've already flagged that this particular portfolio would be receiving 3 dividends from these 3 companies and the details that we currently have in the system. So that can be very helpful for predicting future cash flow that's coming up. The next report we're going to look at is Dividend Contributions. If you're familiar with our Portfolio Contributions report, you can think of this as the dividend equivalent. This report shows you which of your income generating holdings are paying out the most and least in dividends. Now bear in mind you may have different amounts invested in the holdings, so it's not a straight dividend performance comparison. As with other reports though, you can select the date range up the top left that you wish to view. You can export things on the right with the Excel button. So this particular chart shows us that this company has paid out 1,400 in dividends over this time frame versus this company right at the end only paid 44. So you can use this chart as a way of seeing where's most of your income coming, and you can maybe factor in if you're diversified enough or if you need to kind of boost some of these up a bit in case this one stops paying the same dividend. Underneath is the table which breaks down each company and the dividends that you've received from each one. So you can see in here that NAB, for example, paid out 6 dividends, and here's all the information for that. Now let's take a look at the Taxable Income report. So this is for sure one of the more powerful reports in your Navexa account. Provided you've uploaded all your portfolio information correctly and everything is up to date, the Taxable Income report will automatically calculate the amount you'll need to pay in taxes for a given financial year. So at the top you can see a list of all the financial years available for this portfolio, and under here we have a summary with all the various tax codes of how much you need to specify in your tax return and how much you'll need to pay. So this is all of the dividend income that you've received from this portfolio, and underneath all the tax codes we see a few tables that break down things like the non-trust income. You can see the dividends from a particular company and all the various values that apply to that. Underneath you can see the values from trust income and all the values that apply to that. Similarly, there's foreign income, but this portfolio doesn't have any foreign stocks, so that section is empty. Once you've done that, you can export it to Excel or export it to PDF, send it straight off to your accountant, or use it yourself to fill in your personal tax return. The next report we're going to have a look at is the Capital Gains Tax Report. This is the other main tax report in your account and is very important. It lets you, for a given financial year, see the capital gain amounts that you have to pay tax on. Currently this is set up for Australian customers only, so do bear that in mind if you're anywhere else in the world. Up here we've selected a particular financial year, so selected the 2017 to 18 financial year, and you can see down here in the table that it's broken this down into a few things. First section is the non-discountable capital gains, or the other method as the ATO call it. This is for holdings that you've owned for less than 12 months. These are classed as a short-term gain, and this value shows you how much capital gain you've realized from short-term holdings. Under this is capital losses available to offset. So if you'd sold something that you'd owned for less than 12 months and made a capital loss on, that would populate this value as it offsets the gain. Underneath that is the discountable capital gains, or the discount method. This is for holdings that you've owned for longer than 12 months and made a gain or loss on. So similar to above, long-term gains is holdings that you've had for more than 12 months, what was the total capital gain amount, and similarly if there was a capital loss, what that would be. Now under here it's calculated the CGT, or capital gains tax concession amount, for an individual rate. Individual rate meaning this portfolio is for an individual investor, not a company or a trust. And because you get a 50% discount for the individual rate, it is subtracted half of this and left you with $742. So when we add the result of this plus the short-term gain, we're left with a capital gain of $2,167 to pay tax on. Now bear in mind, we don't provide tax advice, so you do need to still confirm this with your accountant. So please consult with them if you have any questions. Underneath though is a breakdown of the things that populate these numbers. So we have the short-term capital gain event here. So you can see this company was purchased on 27 March 17, and then it was sold 11 months later in 2018. Sold 100 of them, shows you the cost base, what the sale value is, and what the gain was that you made on that. And same fields down here, but for long-term capital gains. So we can see for this company, owned it for over a year, the quantity that was sold, and what the gain was. Up here we can change tax settings. So if we click on this, it will take us to this page. We can change the entity type of the portfolio. These have different effects on the tax rules and the discount rate depending on who you are. And down here for each particular financial year we can set a different sale allocation method or tax strategy. So Navexa currently supports first in, first out and last in, first out. Now this can affect whether when you sell a stock that's had multiple open positions, whether your sold transaction comes off the first stocks that went in or the last stocks that went in. And we're planning on adding a bunch more strategies to this report in before next financial year. Again, you can export to Excel or PDF, send that off to your accountant for verification, or use it for your own purposes. Now the last report we're going to look at is the Unrealized Gains report. Now the Unrealized Capital Gains report allows you to calculate your tax obligations as if you had sold all of your stocks today. Up the top here is a date that you can set to whatever you want, and when you click calculate, it will basically simulate as if you had liquidated your entire portfolio on that date, what your tax obligations would be. Now this is a very good report if you need to cash out some money from your portfolio and you want to do it in a more tax-friendly or tax-optimized way, or maybe you want to for whatever reason incur a bigger capital loss, so it allows you to kind of factor in which stock would be best to sell off at this point in time. Again, it breaks it down into long-term capital gains, capital losses, and there would be short-term gains if you had bought anything recently. Again, you can change the tax settings for the portfolio in here, and you can also export to Excel or PDF to send off to your accountant or use for personal use. Again, we do not provide tax advice, so please consult your accountant before making any decisions of this data. The next part we want to look at is the value calculator under calculators in the navigation. So this is basically a discounted cash flows formula with a slight variation, and it's for giving you a basic indication of whether a stock is over or undervalued. It's quite useful if you're more of a value investor and you like to buy things at a discount, or if you're just interested in seeing what a DCF formula says about a particular stock. Most of these values can be found on Yahoo Finance or something similar, and you can see I've plugged in values here for Tesla. So the current share price as of today was $791.36, had a current EPS or earnings per share over the last 12 months of 1.9, an expected earnings growth rate of 51%. Now I've got that from analyst recommendation of Yahoo Finance. Analysts reckoned it will grow 51% per annum next 5 years. So I've put that in there. Who am I to argue with them? Next 5 years, after which the growth will level off to. Now that one's a bit harder. You can kind of change it between 0 and a few percent to see what the difference is. But set it to 0 for a conservative estimate that it won't grow again after that point. Confidence margin is kind of how confident you are with this, with the growth rate. Generally leave it at 50% or somewhere around there for a kind of rough indication. And then the discount rate is the best return you could get somewhere else. So whether that's a bond or a savings account, term deposit, something like that. So I've set it at 4. Let's say the best return you'll get somewhere is 2%. And then you click calculate. Now under here it tells you, based off the DCF formula, what the value per share should be, and it gives you an indication that this stock is overvalued by 55%. Now if you were a value investor, you might look at that and go, not for me, it's not trading at a discount, but that's kind of up to you to decide. So this tool is more of a guide. I definitely wouldn't base your decision to 100% off a tool like this, but it's there to kind of as an extra tool in the toolbox. Next up is the community section in Navexa, which you can find on the community link on the left, and it's broken down into 4 sections. So we'll start at the profile. So this is your personal profile page with your default portfolio. So if you set your account to public in the settings, other Navexa users will be able to view this particular page of yours and see this information. So the things they can see is what your percentage return is over the last 12 months, how many followers you have, how many trades per month you do on average, and when you were a member since. This chart here breaks down your performance per month for a given year. So you can see in 2021, this particular portfolio has done poorly in January, then picked up February, March, April, dropped down a bit. It gives you a bit of an indication of how this person is performing. Underneath you can see all the holdings that that person currently has and whether they're open or closed. It doesn't show any dollar returns, so it just shows percentage returns. So this allows you to kind of show off what you're doing to other people without giving away how much you're investing. Could be as little as $100, could be as much as $1 million. No one would know what size you're holding. And then underneath that is recent trades, so people will be able to see what you bought and when and for how much. It doesn't show quantity, so again no one knows the value of the trade. They just know that you put in a trade on a particular date for a particular holding. This allows people to follow on and kind of follow along and see kind of what you're up to and whether they might like to follow your strategy as well. Similarly, you can view other people's profiles and view the same information to get some trading ideas and just get a sense of how the market is going generally. The next section I'll take you to is Discover Users. So in this page is all the different users in Navexa who have turned their account on to public. So you can see there's quite a few people in here with different levels of followers, and you can see how many followers I have. You can click on one and view the profile for that particular person. So I've clicked on the most followed person in Navexa, Peter Pan. You can see they've made a 60% return the last 12 months, and you can see the kind of the stocks they're buying and trades they're making. You can then follow along, and then in your feed, which you can get to on the left hand side, you can see an activity list of all the people that you're following and what kind of trades that they're doing. So you can see this person's very much into crypto, doing a lot of trades, and you can get some recommendations on the right here of who to follow. The community forum, if you click that, will take you out to our Navexa forum, where you can post things like new feature requests and vote on new features that people have suggested. You can post things, issues, or just some general chat, see what's going on in the community. This is the settings page, which you can access via the account menu, then clicking settings. It's also accessible up here under your username settings, and in the top right drop down here, settings. It takes you to this page. Here you can set things like your profile picture, which is useful in the community. Let people see who you are, or put up a avatar. You can set things like your username, your email address, your first and last name. You can choose date format. We support the standard Australian date format and the US date format. This is where you toggle if you have a public account or not, and that means it's not accessible to everyone on the internet. It's just the profile page that we mentioned in the community section. You can also toggle on whether you want to receive the weekly and monthly summary emails here as well. So change any of those things, click save, and they'll be saved. Under here is also where you want to delete your account. You click on this link, it'll prompt you, do you want to delete the account? You can click yes. All your data will be wiped from our system, so be very sure that you want to leave if you click that link. Next up is a feature called Custom Groups, which you can access under the Account menu in Custom Groups. This is a feature that allows you to set up your own classification of your holdings. So the basic ones built in are things like exchange, sector, industry. So you can select, you want to group by sector, and you'll see that everything is grouped by this sector, like financials, retail, health and whatnot. And if those things aren't good enough, custom groups allow you to create your own one. So in here I've created a group called Navs Group, and you can make certain categories. So I've made two categories called good stocks and bad stocks. Now you could add a whole multitude of categories here, which could be like blue chip, speculative stocks, cryptocurrencies, US holdings, Australian holdings, that kind of thing. And using the toggles here, you can group these things into their appropriate categories. So you simply select the category that you want for each of these, populate all your holdings, and then click Save up here on the top left, and that will allow you to go to the portfolio page, and in the Group By menu, select a custom group, Navs Group, which we just created a moment ago. So once you select that, it'll reload this bottom panel here, and now you can see I have things grouped under good stocks. All of these things are still ungrouped, but you could see if I put them all in their various groups, they would then show up like this. And this allows you to get a breakdown here, a subtotal of that particular category. So good stocks I can see is giving me a capital gain of 19,000 or 45%. Now if I had things like spec stocks and ETFs and all of that, I can set up that grouping and then view the portfolio page and see how each one of those is performing. On the arrow here you can add a new group. Clicking that will set up an unnamed group with two unnamed categories, and that's for you to kind of click here. You can edit the name of this to spec stocks, for instance, click out of there and it's there. If you click save, it'll save it to your account. Now, depending on what account you're on, this is limited. So in our Plus plan, you get 5. On our Advanced plan, you get 10. And you get 1 on the free plan and 1 on the basic plan. Over here, you can delete a group if you've added. So we've just added this unnamed one. We click delete. It'll ask you if you're sure. Click yes, and now it's gone. And you'll see it's not in the menu anymore either. While using Navexa, if you need any help and support, there's a link in the left of the navigation, which will take you to this page. This allows you to search for any help articles you're looking for. We've got some commonly asked questions down here. You can click on any of these categories like getting started, and it will load a bunch of helpful pages to get you through onboarding, to get you through adding data, how to set up automatic trade, importing, DRP, broker imports, all sorts of things. Now, if your question can't be answered in here, you can jump over to the community forum and ask your question there. There's plenty of people who are willing to help you out, as well as myself and the team. We're always in there helping people out. Also, you can also type a question at the bottom of any page in the feedback box. You can tell us things that you would like us to build. If you find any bugs, you can let us know about them. It's free for you to type in anything there that you think we need to know about. Otherwise, you can email us at info@navexa.io and we'll get back to you super quickly and help you out with any support queries. So we made it to the end. That's a guide to all the sections and tools in your Navexa account. We'll be adding more all the time and updating this video with the new sections as we go. Any questions or comments you have, feel free to drop a comment below this video or get in touch with myself or the team on our forum or email us at info@navexa.io. Thanks for watching.